me sunshine in your smile. Bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live.
My name's Josh and this is Reese, and we're both sixth formers at Morecambe High. We interviewed Colin as part of Wise Words.
Colin told us about the youth culture in the 1960s and also about the music. He'd seen loads of bands pass through Morecambe over his time.
It was a really valuable experience because we got to learn more about Colin and Morecambe itself, because Morecambe's changed, how it used to be and how different it is now.
It was a pleasure to interview because he was always happy, he was happy to answer our questions, and he was just good to talk to in general.
Hi, my name is Colin and I've lived in Morecambe for the last 35 years. And I remember Morecambe very well, both after 1980 and in the 60s, which was pretty exciting. I was quite a pop fan at the time, and I used to come and listen to all the bands. There were two main venues. One was the Central Pier, and one was a place called the Floral Hall. Sadly, both gone now. Highly popular. It was like what you'd see as, say, Kaiser Chiefs or something like that. That sort of level, sort of quite high up. Bands that were having #1 hits at the time. So they were pulling some really big names in.
What would you say was your favourite concert that you went to?
Oh, definitely the Cream and the Who.
Yeah. Definitely,
because they were very, very exciting gigs.
What was the difference between the two venues? Was there like a clear difference in the type of people
yes,
that went there?
The Floral Hall tended to get more violent. So you could go there early doors, but it was always best to shuffle off about 9 o'clock before the heavies come in, you know, and there was always a fight. And motorbike crowd from Carnforth, they didn't like the locals, so they just wanted to come to get drunk and have a bit of fun, and if you had a good scrap, that was a brilliant night.
So how often were these events? Was there like concerts going on every week, or was it every month? Or
concerts were more or less every week. I mean, you got headliners probably once every 3 weeks. You got somebody really good. Bands called the Hollies. They did strings of #1 hits. They came quite regularly. Generally a Friday, Saturday, Sunday sort of affair was the Pier. So you used to get sort of good band on a Friday night, just an ordinary, you know, sort of local bands on the Saturday, and then you maybe get some blues group or soul group on the Sunday. Yes, the Cream gig was very good. They were, as I said, they were a massive group. They used to attract people in Hyde Park, and because it was one of the original super groups. Used to play at the Albert Hall, you know, play all over the world really. And for some reason they got a gig at Morecambe. And it was during a sort of psychedelic phase, let's say, and so all the guitars were sort of beautifully painted, and Mr. Clapton had his hair out here, you know, frizzed up, you know, as was the fashion, a bit like Jimi Hendrix and that. But yeah, it was very, very exciting, and I was very particularly interested in the drumming part of it. And I used to, you know, avidly watch Ginger Baker sort of rock the drums like you wouldn't believe, you know, very, very, very good drummer, a good jazz drummer as well. So I was, you know, very, very exciting there. And the Who, Keith Moon, the drummer, he just used to kick his drums at the end of the gig, you know, and Pete Townsend would put his neck of his guitar through his amp. Yeah, it was, you know, it was just the thing to do at the time. I think they must have run at a loss, but There was a couple of pubs in Morecambe that we used to go to as well. We call them Bradford Arms and sadly the Broadway that's now Pile of Bricks. And at the time it was sort of discotheque type pub, so they painted it in luminous colours and kept all the sort of UV lights so you could see people's false teeth. In the Broadway pub, it was on the first floor, and it was all very dark, and with the sort of luminescent drawings on the wall. I think it was a Polynesian room, something like that. So, as a young boy, I used to start chatting up with the girls. Then all of a sudden, 9 o'clock, all the overhead lights went on, and this quite a large lady. We used to call her Juicy Lucy and her poisonous pasties. Came round with a tray of hot Cornish pasties with a pickle in the top, and she wouldn't leave until everybody had bought a pasty. And after that, the lights went back down again, but the spirit of the evening has sort of dissipated.
Were you more of like a rock fan?
Yeah, well, there was that, but at the same time, I was getting into jazz. Oh, right. So I was listening to from Beatles to Dave Brubeck type of thing, sort of. Yeah, I was juggling two sort of genres at once. So. Oh, I always wanted to drum because I was a drummer. I've still got my kit in the loft. The professional drummers used to totally mesmerise me. Yeah. Keith Moon, for all everybody says that he's a crazy guy. He was very good. He was a good drummer. Yeah. We went to see the Who once, and they come on quite late on the pier, and there was no Pete Townsend. There was a local guy from one of the warm-up bands. He came on, played with the Who, So it was an unusual gig. I think it was the only one that Pete Townsend never played at. So it was quite affordable. It can't be more than like £2, so that's half of my spending money really. And I had to have a couple of pints as well, of course.
On that same line, what would you do after gigs? Like, would you go out after gigs or before?
After gigs, we'd either go to a cafe, which I think now is called Eric's Cafe.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be called Smith's Cafe. It was a bit of a greasy spoon affair. Or sometimes, if people had enough transport, we used to drive down the newly opened M6 to Fortin Services. Yeah. And hang out there till about 4 o'clock. But it was a good music scene really around here. The bands tended to play all the same songs. So you go to the floral hall, and there's a first song every band played, because they could go on and on and on when there was only 3 people in there. There was Green Onions, and it's a song by Booker T and the MGs. The guy who played with the Who, he played with a band called the Doodlebugs. They were quite good. They played a little bit of soul, a little bit of pop, a little bit of everything. There was Shadows copy groups, Beatle covers and stuff like that. And
how would you compare gigs back then to gigs now? Do you think there's a big difference? Do you think they're more relaxed back then? Or?
With technology, they've become a lot more professional now. You probably have longer gigs because the tunes tend to sort of pad out a little bit longer. I was watching Glastonbury, and so the lighting, the backdrops, everything. As I say, the sound again, that's mixed.
Yeah.
It wasn't particularly mixed at that point in the 60s. Not very well. Packed out. That been packed out with, especially in the summer, holiday makers. The cafes were full to bursting, and they had to have 2 sittings in the cafes. I used to go to a place called the Trap Door, and then there was one called the Sportsman's. That Sportsman's is somewhere near bottom of Euston Road. It was all frothy coffee. Frothy. It hasn't really changed espresso, has it? People sort of sitting with espresso cups, glass cups. Very retro now, and they used to sit there for hours. I don't know how they ever made any money.
Yeah, you said the mass influx of tourists. Would you say that you saw more benefits or more negatives from that?
Certainly benefits, because the money was coming into the town, and it was a good vibe. It was a good vibe. Lancaster, you know, because it never had its university at the time, or it was very in its embryonic stages. It was quite a dead hole, you know, with old pubs, old guys, you know. It contrasted, you know, tremendously with Morecambe, which was such a good town, and there was lots of stuff going on.